Hey guys, Stealth here and welcome back to Frostpunk 2. The situation is bad. The captain is dead, and as he weakened, growing divisions brought the city maintenance to a grinding halt. New London is left to suffer the consequences. We are the stewards. It's your role as a player. It's your charge to lead, but you must prove yourself. That's what we're going to do. So, how are we doing? We have a pretty sizable map to build on. And this is the city that we're trying to rescue. Now, this city is just a lot more sizable than the city that we had in the previous episode, in the prologue. We have 8,000 people. 4,800 of those are workforce. That's only 60% though, not 65 this time. We have no holdouts. We have a little bit of heat stamps. That is a resource that you use quite a lot in all sorts of buildings, but also in research. More on that later. We have prefabs, again, to build things, and we have cores. Now, cores are more specialty items. You cannot build these, you can only find them. Comparable quality production is nearly impossible in the current environment. You cannot produce any cores. So the cores are something that we'll have to find. We're not doing very well on shelter. Our food stocks are dwindling. You can see that we do have a stockpile, but it's going down. It's going to last us for another 55 weeks, so a little over a year. We have absolutely no materials. Or at least no income, but we do have a stockpile, and when it comes to goods, we have none of that. As for guards, we do have some guards. We have no Frostland teams, which are the teams you use to scout out the surrounding area, so let's say Alpha Map. And we have a couple of different factions this time. We have the Frostlanders, we have the Stalwarts. These are only 12% of the city, so they're a smaller faction. And we have the New Londoners. They're 45% and thus also the biggest part of the city. They want technological progress. These guys want progress as well. Merit forges the strongest. Reason for order. Order for control. And we also have the Frostlanders, the same faction as we had in the previous one. Adaptation. They really believe that we should adapt, whereas these guys are far more interested in technological advancement. Now, they're not exactly polar opposites, but they will force you to make decisions between what one faction wants or another. So first, we're going to have to frostbreak to the coal seams. And these coal seams over here are things that we can use, at least temporarily, to keep the system going. Because right now, the generator is disabled. We don't have any heat. So the frost is growing. The cold is notable. We really need to break open these resources quickly and make sure that we have a little bit of coal going on here. Otherwise, we're going to find that our population simply will starve or freeze. Well, freeze before starve, really, because we do have a decent amount of resources here. What we can do here is build a little bit of housing. And this housing is actually quite good because it's sheltered from the cold, which gives you a bonus to the amount of heat that it generates. So if the map gives you a situation like this, I highly recommend that you take it, because it means that you don't have to spend as much heat to warm up this living district. The living districts thankfully do share heat, so you can have these things close together and they will share heat between each other. So although this one is up on the ice face, this one is down in that canyon, you are going to be getting a little bit of a heat bonus from that. So let's turn the generator back on after we get some coal. I do want to continue frost breaking here. You can see there's a lot more resources on the map. Over here we have the frozen forest, which is materials. You even have a permanent deep deposit for frozen forests. And we have a little bit of fertile soil over here. We have some fertile soil there. Down here, we can find more materials, including another permanent one. And we have a lot of prefabs down here, which we'll need. These things, unfortunately, always go faster than you might like. There are a few additional coal seams here. This should keep you going for a while. But coal, well, any resource, will always run out faster than you might like. So that's going to be a bit of a problem. Now, we have coal, we have the housing districts built, we can turn the generator back on. Good work! We've secured a new coal deposit. It's part of the last vein in New London. There are still some deposits left, but they won't last for long. We need to decide what to do in order to keep this city warm. Expand an existing housing district. If you want to do that, you go to the housing district and you click this button, and it's going to provide a building slot. And this comes at the expense of a few prefabs and a little bit of heat stamping, but it's not as expensive as being or as going to build a whole new district. And getting those additional buildings is important, or those building slots, because we can now build buildings. We can build the Research Institute, and we can build the Council Hall. Of course, you're going to have to be forced, or you're going to be forced to choose what you want to build. We have the City Hall, or the Council Hall, which is something that you really will need, because that's where the laws are formed. You also really need these, but they do contain, or they do require quite a lot of workforce, and heat stamps and prefabs. And heat stamps are coming in. There are some things you can do to fix this, to increase the amount of heat stamps that are coming in. But generally you won't have a ton of them. Now, in order to get more of those, you can start chatting up these factions, and you can say, I want to raise funds. Ask the Frostlanders to contribute all they can for the good of the city, and you'll be able to get additional heat stamps. They won't like that. Your relationship with the Frostlanders will significantly decrease. And if you lose support from one of the factions, I believe that can lead to riots. And that is not good, because then you can get deposed, and you might even find that you are at the end of your playthrough. Alright, now that this has been expanded, we can build a research institute. That's going to allow us access to the tech tree. What's going on here? Anticipation fills the air as the council opens. The captain ruled with a firm hand for years, but those times died with him. Now the communities of the city want their say. The stalwarts maintain order on behalf of the captain and adhere to what they claim was his vision for New London: progress, merit, and reason. The New Londoners and Frostlanders clash over our survival strategy, though neither has a firm stance on economic or social issues. So when it comes to laws or research projects, you're usually going to be picking the New Londoners or the Frostlanders at the expense of the other one that you don't choose. They are not going to like it. So you're going to have to be doing a little bit of politicking in order to keep everybody happy. Then there's those who view the stalwarts with contempt for their role in New London's history, but they keep to the shadows for now. So we can open the session. And the first thing that we're going to have to do is make sure that we maintain control of the city. We have to be accepted as the new ruler. A special vote needs to happen. They need to accept you as their leader. If this fails, it'll be the end of your rule and your playthrough. Thankfully, I am tolerated. So at the moment, I don't need to negotiate. I don't have to do a whole lot of work. But sometimes you will have to negotiate with a faction. And, for example, you can negotiate with the New Londoners, which will give you 45 delegates. And in order to get their vote, you will have to give them something in return. Such as being able to fund their projects. It's beneficial to their community. But that is going to cause issues. The larger the population, the more heat stamps are required to fund them. So you have to spend 216 heat stamps for this particular action. It's not something I want to do. Thankfully, I don't have to do it. At the moment, I can just go into the council and I can vote. Because I do believe that I have the votes. You better be sure about something like this. Because if you're not, could be the end of your playthrough. So, thankfully the law passed and we are accepted as the new steward. Our building is still getting built. We still have plenty of workforce, so let's keep expanding into these additional coal seams before we need them, rather than doing it after the time has passed when this coal seam is dying out, which is in 135 weeks in its current condition. As for other resources, we still need food, so let's go build a food district. I can build this across several different of these deposits, and that will mean that it's going to tap into all of them. It also means that you can build a bigger district. As for the area here, this still needs to get broken into. This is all of those materials. So let's get to work frost breaking there. And as long as I have enough population, I can keep frost breaking more. This has been already opened. I can get at the additional coal mines there, so that's fine. Let's just keep breaking the bits here. Okay, proceed. And there's the tech tree. The Research Institute is constructed. We can now research new ideas. This is where it gets very interesting, because you have a lot of different things that you can research. Different communities may propose diverging answers to the same issue. They will only pursue solutions that align with their worldview. Now, we have a lot of different tech trees, essentially. You have heating, resources, frostland, city, society, and hubs. So there's a lot of different tech trees to go through. And then, for example, for heating, the game is now doing a bit of hand-holding and going, you need to get this one. It has the big exclamation mark, it's essentially a quest item. So we need to get researching on coal mines. You can improve the mining operation, but how you go about that can change. You can go for dust coal mines, mining operations where residue coal dust is sucked up and compressed into briquettes to make maximum use of the resource. Or I can go for blasting coal mines. This is going to increase coal output to 180 versus 150. But blasting increases squalor. And squalor is generally not good for your city, because it increases disease, it slows your population growth, and it wears down whole districts. So yeah, you can blast your way through these mines and get coal out faster, but you're not really going to like it. Alternatively, you can accept a lower coal output at the expense of disease, simply because inhaling coal fumes is not too healthy. I'm going to go with the explosive option. This means that the New Londoners are going to like it, and I'm going to research this idea, which is going to take 12 weeks. They have different ideas, yes. I believe I already did this, but this is essentially what the game is trying to teach you right now. Okay, let's proceed. Get some additional buildings built. Here's our food. We're now at -40. So yeah, there's plenty of additional food that still needs to get added to our area. What I can also do is build a hub. And seeing as this is a fairly sizable district that requires 600 workforce, I can immediately deploy a hub right next to it. And that should allow that to get a lot less workforce. I mean, you're saving 10%, so that's good, right? But 10% in this case is 60 workers. And this thing allows me to store more, but it requires 100 workforce. So in this case, I think building a hub is not necessarily in my best interests. Not yet. If I'm able to crack the ice here, just open up the area here, I might be able to deploy a food district that goes closer to the others, and then it can get interesting. What do we have here? It's good to have you back, old chap. It was a terrible fright to have you switched off. They're not talking to me, they're admiring the generator. It's revered and respected by the stalwarts. Good. Now, we have the research for the coal mines in progress. We have the ice broken up here. Near enough. I'm going to try and get as close to this district as I can. Like that. There. I do want this broken up. Just do those 3 bits. Because now I can deploy a hub in the middle. And then it does get interesting, because this is another fairly sizable district. And this requires another 600 workers. So now I'm not only going to be building a hub that allows me to get resource or get the bonus to both sides, but I'm also getting additional storage. So if a whiteout is going to hit, it shouldn't be that bad. And this means I save 10% workforce there, so that's 120. Sorry, that's 60 there, 60 there, so it's 120. So I'm essentially netting a workforce of 20 workers, which is okay. As for that mine, that is now done. The research has been completed. So I can now go to buildings, and I can go to extraction and set up the blasting coal mine, which is added as a building to this district. Then, what else are we going to research? What is next? Because there's so much to do. We have sawmills, we have worker shifts, but we don't have enough heat stamps to research that. We don't have enough research or heat stamps to research anything, really. The Frostland allows you to go into the other areas, let's say off map, and figure out ways to get resources and or population from there. This has to do more with how you run your city. such as how do you compensate your workers, how are you going to do maintenance duties, what are you going to do to prevent famine? There's a lot to be done there. Society, how do you deal with the ill, what sort of hospital do you set up, how do you do with the youth? Are you going to educate them, yes or no? And you have all sorts of hubs. At the moment, you have already a couple of different hubs. You might have seen some of them. And for example, there's the maintenance hub. It's a workshop complex, it's a base of operations which they use to service nearby districts. And that means that the materials demand is decreased for those nearby districts. So that can definitely be helpful. There's a fighting one that decreases tension because it's basically a safe way to get people to fight. You have the rail hub. And this one doesn't really have any different types, but most of the research trees do. So there's plenty to research and plenty to figure out how to do. First, I'm going to figure out this blasting coal mine here. There we go. Fuel for the future. A lack of common rules among our people can lead to trouble, but as the council debates the future of our city, we're all concerned about the day our last coal deposits run out. So we must explore the Frostland, and that is going to be the next bit of the operation. We need to build a logistics district on an old way station. There's a few of those. You can find these districts under the exploration, and you can build them close to the edge of the map. This over here is a way station. There are, I believe, 3 of them on the map. Yeah, here's another one all the way southeast, and there's another one to the west. So you have 3 of these parts. And seeing as I'm fairly close to this one, I'm just going to sort of tunnel my way there and be able to build at that part. And then we're going to find a permanent source of fuel. In the meanwhile, I am doing very poorly on materials. I do have a reasonable amount of workforce. So let's get some materials set up. If and when I can afford that. Which requires more heat stamps. Let's see if I can squeeze out some of these factions. The stalwarts are quite happy. They are... they got the decent bonus for now. Unfortunately, they're fairly small. So, whereas I can have them generate some funds, it's not going to be a whole lot, but I will raise the funds. The relations are falling, but it's not that bad. These heat stamps are going to allow me to set up an extraction district here for all of these deposits. So that should allow us to gather some additional materials, because we're running dry on those. We also still need to do additional shelter. I might just have enough heat stamps for that. So let's go for the housing district. I do try and keep those things together. Maybe this thing, however, is decent because it's nice in that valley. So let's put that there. Every once in a while you can accept or propose new laws. So let's have a look. Regarding the rule, I can have, and this is something I don't really want to do, either way, I can have guard enforcers, which quells protests, or I can even mobilize watchtower squads, or I can do guided voting. This is a bit morally ambiguous, because it means I can say that a motion is vitally important to the city's survival, curtailing debate and convincing many wavering delegates to support it. So, this is definitely going to improve the chances of getting something passed, but essentially it leads you down the road of becoming a dictator. Stewart's militia and martial law potentially aren't a whole lot better. So let's see, what can we do about survival? As for food, let's go for food additives. You have options. You can have foraged additives, which will mean that your citizens will provide some food. This is liked by the Frostlanders. Or you can go over chemical additives, which means that food production efficiency is increased, but disease is marginally increased as well. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to add the foraged additives, so we're going to have to just find them. And this is something that many people are against. I need to have 2/3. I might not be able to pass this one right now. So, like, I can get 22 out of 45 New Londoners delegates, but I also need the Frostlanders, and I'm not willing to negotiate with both parties, so I'm not going to go for that law right now. Let's see if they can do something else. Let's see about the city. We have community service. What do we want to do? We have quite a few options. We can say that community service, everybody needs to aid expeditions by helping them prepare for their journey, which means that expedition time is decreased. Or I can say that main district is going to provide some prefabs, which is nice. Everybody's going to produce some production of prefabs. Or I can have the heat pipe watch. This way, the heat pipes in the cities all get checked up, and if there's something leaking, then that's going to get fixed up quickly. Or I can go for service exemptions. This means that heat staff's income per capita is slightly increased. Everyone must volunteer their time outside of work as needed unless they purchase an exemption. This is very much where your own preference comes into play. How do you want to run your city? I want to run my city on a bit more exploration, so I'm going to go with the expedition support. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people who are opposing that. So I don't think I can do that right now. There's quite a few people who are in favor of city development, and seeing as prefabs are generally very valuable, I'm going to go with this one. So, this right now is not going to be enough. We need a 2/3 majority. So we're going to need more people. Or at least I believe we need a 2/3 majority. I need to find the hesitants and just get those people to... whoops! Oh boy, I'm not going to pass this one, am I? Yeah. No! Yeah, we passed it. Wow, okay. That was risky. We got it, but only just. Now, by doing this, we are promoting progress. And this down here is what is called the zeitgeist, or the general city direction that you're taking. You can go for progress, you can go for adaptation. So this is just adapting to the cold, because fighting the cold, as some of the factions will see it, is futile. We also have merit and equality. And we have tradition and reason. Which direction you take is entirely up to you. It's going to get impacted by the decisions that you make. So every choice that you make, be it a law or be it a pop-up, is going to matter. What's happening here? Cindy's pa went and got her a governess, like she's going to be a duchess or something. The lack of law regulating childhood is causing tension to rise throughout the city. That's something I need to address. Unfortunately, right now, the council is in recess for another 9 weeks. So that's not really something I can work on. Over here, we are building that exploration district, that logistics district. That's going to allow us to run expeditions outside of the map. So let's have a look at that. We can now survey the frozen lands around New London and find a source of fuel to ensure its future. You do that by pressing V, and you can see there are a couple of districts around. We have the foothills, the frozen bay, the highlands, or the gorge. All of these have their own issues. This one, for example, the highlands, is dangerous. Many scouts will be injured, and it is possible to do, but you do need 20 research or 20 Frostland teams. I only have 15. So I don't have enough. This means I cannot really do this mission unless I do, for example, building of the headquarters or the Pathfinder Scouts Law. Not going to be happening anytime soon. So let's continue with the quest. I can have New Londoners be brought in for an additional 2,665 New Londoners. Yeah, let's do that. More workforce is better. So long as they're able to pull their own weight. And not just be a flat-out burden on the city. We're bleeding materials like crazy. It is looking pretty bad. We are getting the prefabs, which is nice. But those materials, that's something that has me a little concerned. Let's ice break this. We can turn this into a big district. We also have the capacity of building an industrial district. Processes materials into prefabs or goods. It can produce other resources with additional infrastructure. So it's a sort of transmuter. It transmutes one resource into another, which is nice, but expensive. Has the frost breaking been done here? Yes. Okay. Now we can build that extraction district, and I'm going to build that as big as I can. Can we build a hub here? Anything useful? Let's have a look. I can have the goods stockpile. Workforce demand is decreased. This would decrease in both sides, or no? Oh, sorry, that's the goods. No, it's not going to work. I can have the heating hub. In neighboring districts, the heat demand is decreased. So this would go for both sides. That can be very valuable, because this one, for example, demands 30 heat. That's a hefty pressure on the generator that we're putting right now. Alternatively, for the hubs, we have the fuel stockpile. The demand in neighboring extraction districts is decreased for the workforce. I might be able to expand one of these districts and get both of these hubs. And that way have both of the bonuses. So first let's go with the heating hub. Get that done. What do we have here? Feral children. 5 children are dead and dozens lay wounded after 2 large youth gangs met for what they call a rumble. Most of the children were armed with knives. The fighting escalated to a full-scale battle. What the hell? As the parents of the deceased mourn, many insist that these children should not have been left unattended. Great. The persistent lack of law regulating childhood is causing crime and tension to rise even further. This needs to get addressed right now. Let's get the session back. Childhood. We can have a couple of options here. I can have the family apprenticeship. The percentage of active workers is increased. Or I can have them go to mandatory school. Research speed is increased, but heat stamps per capita is decreased. So, they're not going to be getting, what, as much goods? I do want mandatory school. I think it's important to educate the youth. Okay, we do need to have a little bit of a chat with a bunch of hesitants. How many can I get? There are 59 Londoners who are interested in negotiating. So let's have a chat with them. I want them to vote in favor. And what we can do is enact the law of mass-produced goods. It's going to make good production more efficient. Great, but at the moment I don't even have any goods to produce. Nor do I really have the resources to go for that. I can also grant them the agenda, which is going to allow them to choose the next law to be voted on. This means that they get to subject or submit a law that they might want to get passed. But I can still say no, or I can move other factions to say no. Or I can get the advanced blasting coal mine, using a high-powered explosive to maximize mining efforts at the cost of significant noxious emissions. I don't want that. I'll let them submit the next law and we'll see how it goes. Now I should have more than enough votes that I need, so now I can get this law passed. There we go. 75... 83-4. I only need 51 votes. We have it. Trust rises. And our research speed is increased a little bit. As for heat stamps, it's still not doing very well. So if I'm able to provide enough goods, that'd be great. But I'm first working on those materials and that hub. I won't let them do your head in with their rubbish, kid. You can see that some of the Frostlanders don't like this choice that I made. Well, tough. This is what I selected. Looming cold. As the captain's authority weakened, different groups started pulling the cities into their own direction. Now coal is finally running out. Tension is high. People are afraid. Fix it. One way or another. Yeah, this one's almost back in session. I should be able to send out another expedition. Let's go to the Frozen Bay. Over 30 years ago, the Imperial Exploration Company landed here to build the region's generators. A few hastily dismantled piers still stick out from the ice, a faded reminder of their short-lived purpose. It's deemed safe, and I can potentially find additional Frostland dwellers. I might not want to take those people in. I might not want to take them in. What can we find in the foothills? There might be prefabs, there might be... Ooh, cores. Let's go for this. Okay. Continue. Some of these choices are getting really rough. Steward, a fire has broken out in the coal mine. If we do not react, we'll lose the mine along with the deposit. Some of the stalwarts engaged in the rescue efforts insist we can still save the mine by cutting off the air supply to the shaft and suffocating the flames. But some miners are still making their way out. It'll suffocate them too. I can block off the air supply. We'll save the deposit. Some miners will die. Or I can evacuate the workers. The miners will be saved. The blasting coal mine will be destroyed. And the district's remaining coal reduced by 50%. I'm sorry, people, but I kind of like this mine. More than your lives. And I know that's horrible. But, yeah, 119 miners suffocated. So that's a bunch of workforce dead as well. Yikes. Okay. Let's see. What is the council voting on? Mass-produced goods. The law is supported. I don't mind it. I can just vote for that. Goods production efficiency is increased. I'm still not exactly producing new goods, but this is something that the New Londoners, I believe, wanted. So it's fine. They can do that. They have the votes, and the law has passed. Alright, that's where I'm going to leave you guys this episode. In the next episode, we're going to find the permanent source of fuel outside of the city. Which means we'll have to somehow get it to the city. More on that in the next episode. Thank you for watching so far. I hope you are enjoying it, and I'll see you soon for more.